Looking for someone.
Back to hell.
This is 2007's Ghost Rider. The character's flaming skull, badass motorcycle, and leather jacket are perfect for a major motion picture franchise. There should be 15 of these movies. Crank them out and let the cash roll in.
His face was a skull, and it was on fire.
On fire?
Yeah, like...
And yet, in the character's 3 cinematic outings, they've all failed to impress. Is it really that hard to make a good Ghost Rider movie?
Let's ride.
Everyone's favorite undead Evel Knievel first appeared in Marvel Spotlight number 5. The flaming skulled vigilante won over the hearts and minds of readers almost instantly. Johnny Blaze sold his soul to a demon in order to attempt to save his foster father. What he didn't know was that his father would soon die anyway, and he would be damned to walk the earth using newfound demonic powers to become the living embodiment of vengeance. Fans thrilled to the darker tones the character brought to the medium. Throughout the 70s and 80s, the character maintained a stalwart level of cult readership. By the time the 90s had rolled around, Marvel wanted to pass the mantle down to a new Ghost Rider, named Danny Ketch. And how did he get his powers? Well, much like all comics published in the 90s, it's an insane origin story. He touched a motorcycle that was imbued with the spirit of vengeance after his sister was attacked by ninja gangsters.
Really? Yeah, really. You got a problem with that?
Despite seeing a surge in popularity in the 90s, the early 2000s saw a dip for the character. And yet, the massive influx of cinematic success that comic book movies were having saw every stray Marvel and DC character who wasn't nailed down being snapped up by film studios and production companies. Ghost Rider's journey to the big screen started as far back as 1992. However, nearly 2 decades of revolving doors would take place. It would be Mark Steven Johnson, hot off his success with Ben Affleck's Daredevil, that would secure the honor of bringing Johnny Blaze to the big screen. Despite bringing in $228.7 million, the film has the personality and creative ambition of a wet toad.
You're pissing me off.
Okay, sorry.
And its primary issue is the casting. Nick Cage, who is a fantastic actor in his own right, is just not suited for this film. He's too old for the part. His dyed hair and wig combo is extremely strange, and his bizarrely inconsistent southern accent is just awful.
I sold my soul to the devil. On account I work for him. That's why I couldn't make it to dinner.
The film doesn't seem to know if it wants to be an action-adventure horror movie or a brightly lit comedy.
It was an edgelord, but he totally pulled it off.
Take this moment from when Johnny Blaze sees his long-lost love Roxanne Simpson for the first time in decades.
We have time for a quick interview.
Look, Johnny Blaze don't do no interviews, okay?
Not even for an old friend.
That whip pan seems like something out of a Saturday Night Live sketch, not a real movie a massive studio spent over $100 million to produce. To add even more strangeness to the cinematic catastrophe, Cage, for some reason, is choosing to portray the brooding and haunted Johnny Blaze as Elvis for some reason. He strikes a pose with his hand that is reminiscent of the King, has the accent, dark hair, and even a love of junk food.
Let someone else carry this curse. You're free now.
No. I'm gonna own this curse.
The film's tepid attempts at humor make the already disappointing gumbo of poor decisions even worse. Like the moment where Roxanne gets stood up for a date with our titular hero, and this adult woman with a highly successful career reacts like this.
Wait, you think I'm pretty, right?
Tragically, the action in the movie isn't much better. One of Ghost Rider's classic and most powerful abilities is the penance stare, where the rider locks eyes with his foe and forces them to experience all of the pain they have inflicted on others. And the first time Nick Cage's Ghost Rider uses his penance stare, it's used on some random street thug. It's a massive letdown.
Feel their pain.
But because the film brought in over $200 million, a sequel was eventually put into production. Thankfully, the producers learned their lesson and tried to bring in a director with some visual flair, or at least someone who had even a passing interest in genre filmmaking. 2012's Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance was directed by the duo behind the Crank films, Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor. Pitched as Terminator 2 but with the Ghost Rider, the film sees Cage return as a stripped-down version of his flaming anti-hero in a road movie where the Spirit of Vengeance must attempt to protect a young boy from nefarious forces hell-bent on ending the world. Thankfully, they lost the southern accent, weird hair dye, and penchant for jelly beans, but frankly, most of this film doesn't work.
The only thing standing between you and the writer is me. He's scraping at the door! Scraping at the door!
It retcons some aspects of the original film in its efforts to be a straight-ahead genre film, but it never quite finds the rhythm you want it to. Almost every character in this film is a chore to watch.
Where are they?
Shut up!
That being said, the film does have some inspired visual twists, namely, a scene where the writer pilots a massive land excavator. Issue being, this happens like halfway through the movie, so the whole rest of the time there's nothing they can do to live up to this spectacle. Overall, this sequel's character work falls pretty flat, but the dynamic visuals and actual scary horror-themed directorial choices elevate it far above its pedantic predecessor. While some rumblings of a third Ghost Rider sequel happened at the time, the momentum for the franchise seemed to stop there. In 2013, the rights to the character reverted back to Marvel, and while they initially stated that they had no plans for future films starring the character, the TV project Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. incorporated the Robbie Reyes version of the character in the 4th season of the show.
Where does he hit again last night? 2 dead in the street.
Who?
Ghost Rider.
Funny enough, this is by far the most evenly distributed level of quality that a Ghost Rider has received. Gabriel Luna, the actor playing Robbie, and the writer, is perfectly cast. And while the show doesn't have the money to show his skull face very often, they do wonderful character work with him.
Then I heard a voice. It was asking me if I wanted a second chance. Did I want to punish those who hurt my brother? Did I want to avenge my own death? I answered yes. More than anything, yes.
This version of the character went over so well with fans that Marvel was actually going to use it as the cornerstone of a horror block of shows they were going to launch on Hulu. Hellstrom and Ghost Rider were going to be the gateways, joining the Runaways to the streaming platform. However, after creative differences and Gabriel Luna's pickup option ran out of time, the show was canceled.
I made a deal with the devil.
Ghost Rider is a cool-looking character with visually interesting powers and a great backstory, and it should be so easy to make a franchise for him. The producers just need to get out of their own way. But because he's a superhero, for some reason, they're adverse to making something low-budget and hyper-violent. Ghost Rider should be the figurehead of a series of films that are B-movie slashers, where the slasher is a good guy. Make them road movies starring a metaphorical werewolf. He's a character that doesn't want to be the writer, but he can't help himself. He transforms in the presence of evil. As painful as it is to admit, the Neveldine and Taylor direction is the right take. That experiment should have worked, and it would have if it wasn't hampered by the fact that Nick Cage just isn't Johnny Blaze. These films should be horror first, superhero second. Given the right combination of star and an inventive director, Ghost Rider could be one of the greatest filmic icons to ever grace the silver screen. But all this being said, in today's cinematic landscape, that's all highly unlikely. To make this happen, you'd probably have to sell your soul. And well, that's all we have for this episode. What do you think? Should Marvel make Ghost Rider into a low-budget franchise of films? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Nerdstalgic videos just like this.